This is Partha. I'm presenting together with Suresh Kumar Palus. Also, my co-author Sai is present here. So today is about benchmarking autonomous software development agents. We are moving from curiosity, can it compile, to operational trust. Can we run in it production? So most teams measure agents with simple success rates. In practice, you care about reliability, cost, human oversight, load, and safety. In the next 30 minutes, we will show why current benchmarks miss reality, a benchmark suit aligned with real dev work, a metric stack beyond pass rates, a taxonomy of failure modes you can act on, and what baseline results say about specialization and governance. Let's get started. So, this is co-pilots versus agent, the shift, right? Initially in the past, let's talk about how the co-pilot used to react, right? Or is reacting. You ask a question, it suggests code, you decide and execute. An agent runs a loop. It takes a goal, a plan, and uses tools, results, and iterates. So this is the difference basically. So this makes agents more powerful and risky as well. So the difference in autonomy and tool usage, basically, as you can see here. So your evaluation must shift to like a good co-pilot metric is code quality per prompt. However, for a good agent metric, it's end-to-end task outcomes under constraints with repeatability, of course. So if autonomy changes the system, why do many benchmarks still look like co-pilot tests? This is a question which we need to address. So we are addressing the diagnostic gap. Why benchmarks miss reality? So here is the gap. Many frameworks, they test isolated tasks like bug fixing or a small harness. So that causes fragmentation. We get scores, but you do not see production reliability. So that high benchmark score, uh, though they are present, they don't guarantee, they kind of guarantee uh, oversight, which might happen at times. So we don't get a safe behavior or stability in the runs. So this results in confusion for the builders and the buyers. So we need a unified evaluation framework, which is tied to business outcomes and operational constraint. So how do we do that? How do we get a realistic benchmark? Let's find out. So the solution in front of you is a Dev Agent Bench. This is basically the key idea where we see the coverage of realistic phases of software development, as you can see here, not a single narrow task. So we cover bug fixing with real issues, test generation and maintenance, refactoring and structural changes, the code review style critic, and the long horizon task where planning and the memory matters. So this gives you a surface area closer to how an agent behaves in a real repo. So coverage spans realistic phases, not just bug repair. As we move forward, we see beyond pass rates, the three-layer metric framework. So this is the core of the talk, basically what we are going to present. We propose a three-layer metric stack. The first layer is core metric. So did the agent succeed? Was the change correct, including hidden test or unseen checks? So we factor all those in this core task metrics. How efficient was the path? Like the steps, the tool usage, the calls, and the time. Now, moving to the level two, we look for run to run variance. So if it succeeds once and fails the next run, you cannot operationalize it. So recovery rate after the errors, this is how we look for reliability in fun as a definition, right? So degradation under noise is another factor we look at. So like partial context of flaky tools where we see things breaking, which we may not have preempt, right? So those kind of issues are handled here. So level three is business value. So which again is cost per task, not only compute, it includes human time as well. So the human oversight effort basically talks about how often a person has to correct it or how much time, effort, energy he has to put in there, right? So then we finally have the safety incidents. So even a small rate can block production rollout. So a high pass rate is meaningless if the agent need constant correction or cost which are too much per task. So the value or ROI what we are looking for doesn't materialize here, right? So to measure this consistently, you need an evaluation harness with strong isolation and logging. Let's look at it. So this is the architecture of the entire framework. So this talks about an agent implementation which runs inside an isolated container, as you can see here. So the agent interacts through a tool API, not direct uncontrolled access. So typical tools include Git operations, running the test, and files input output. And a grading engine which is used here captures the outputs, the differences, the logs, and the snapshots or screenshots. So isolation matters here. So the results are comparable but safe. The resource caps also matter. So we need to compare the efficiency and the present runway behavior. So artifacts used in this case are also important. So we can debug the failures and build better agents. So now, so that we can measure it, we need to understand why the agents fail in a structured way. Let's find out. So we build a failure taxonomy with 9 modes, as you can see here. So we look for problem understanding, the plan decomposition, context and memory, tool usage. We look for partial change and regression, safety and security, flakiness, incomplete work, and infrastructure. These are the 9 modes. So think of it more of as a debugging map and your product roadmap input. As we talked about all the modes here, uh, we look into it as we track any specific success rate. We do not know what to fix. So if we classify the failures, we can target improvements and set deployment rules. So what all things we categorize here or look for here, like the flakiness, some things which we can't determine, some incomplete work. So the infrastructure issues as such which happen, right? So those things are pretty straightforward, but we may not be able to factor in them if we are not able to classify those failures, and we can't if we are not able to classify, we can't find a baseline. If we don't find a baseline, we can't measure the success or outcome of the next step, whatever we are comparing it against, right? So let's jump into the top failure rates in the next slide. So as you can see here, the failure modes, it is about misunderstanding constraints basically. So the example goal, say for example, we are taking here, fixing a bug without modifying a public API. So what a weak agent would do, it will misread the constraint and change the public API anyway. It might fix the local test, but will break integration, compatibility, or the downward stream. So what kind of symptoms we can look at it, right? So it could include like ignoring explicit constraints, what we are calling like backward compatibility, or fixing the right bug in the wrong module. That also could happen. Or it could also misinterpret scope. So frequency on this slide, basically it could be roughly 8 to 12%, just giving an example. So this is critical because it looks like progress, but there is a hidden damage. So what do we do about it? So we add constraint, which checks early in the loop, requires the agent to restate those constraints before editing, then add automated gates like the API surface difference checks. So having all those in place helps us understanding the problem. So the next mode is the most common and it hurts production the most. So that's what we are talking about, the partial change and regression. So this is the dominant category or the majority of the, you can say, more of the Pareto analysis we do. We'll find the majority of the issues found here, a more of 18 to 25%. So the agent fixes one function or a file and breaks a dependent path. So it is a classic local optimization failure. It passes the immediate test and then fails related behavior. I would term it as more of a silent killer because our system degrades while the agent thinks it succeeded or maybe hallucinates. So, what do you do about it? So, make the dependency awareness explicit. So, by calling it clearly that this force on a broader test selection will look for not only the failing test, the score solutions with the regression penalties. Like with any failures which happens, we perform a retesting as well as regression testing. Likewise, it looks into those categorizations. We track the code base impact, but not only the patch size, but the entire length and breadth of the impacted areas. So now let's separate reasoning failures from execution failures. There is the final slide before I transition it across to my teammate who will showcase. So two common execution issues show up here. The tool usage failures, around 12 to 18%. The example we can quote as, say for example, editing a generated code output instead of source files. So ignoring clear error signals like the file not found, calling tools in the wrong order, or planning failures around 15 to 20% in long horizon tasks. So these are common examples where we have this execution failures. So what we do basically proceeding ad hoc without a plan, repeating the same command after failure and looping that behavior. So those are the issues we are finding, right? So what do we do about it? So now we add a tool for feedback parsing with hard stops on repeated identical failures and add those loop detection like repeated commands or no new differences after nth step and require a plan step for long tasks with checkpoints. So now we'll hand it over to Suresh to outline the baseline results. The key insight is like there is not a single best agent. Over to you, Suresh.
Thank you, Partha. Hi, all. Uh, Partha, can you share the screen? I'll go through your slides.
Sure.
Yeah, I will be going through the evaluation results and metrics and the roadmaps. So we have done rigorous evaluation across three distinct agents Partha described earlier, the scaffolding agents, pipeline agents, and the framework agents. We validated or configured the agents across four different models like GPT, Claude, Llama, and Mistral Medium models. So our findings says that none of the agent performed well across all the tasks. So some agents perform well on some tasks. Our evaluation is that for test generation task, pipeline agents performed well. For the um, refactoring task, like the scaffolding agent performed well, but the general purpose the agents like auto gen performed moderately, and for the long horizon task, the success rate we received is around 18 percentage. This is the graph which shows the success rate and the task and their success rates. So the key insight is that none of them performed well across all the tasks. So the specialization is the required for the agent to perform better results. Yeah, Partha, next one. So now we will look at the cost of autonomy. So the cost is a major factor when we use agents because it burn out a lot of tokens, and if the agent is utilizing a lot of tokens, and more cost will be involved, and the outcome is not great, then that tool may not be ideal for our use. So if you look at this graph, like the general purpose framework agent taken around average of around 10,200 tokens for the task, and received only around 30 percentage success rate. They are a highly inefficient tool. So when we look at the scaffolding agents, the success rate is more, but the token usage is around 5,000. Yep. Next slide, please. So here we look at the reliability results. So even we have evaluated the runs for multiple same task we executed for multiple runs, and the reliability is a major concern. Like the results, there is a difference in the variance we calculated, and the success rate differs So we saw that the scaffolding agents performed better with around 5 percentage variance, and the general purpose agents like the variance was around 12 percentage. So high variance we cannot trust, and that makes the tool or the agent not reliable. Yep. So also we have done stress testing for the deployment purpose. Uh, we have reduced the context. The framework agent fails without some like proper uh, errors. So and the pipeline robustness is another problem. Yep. Next slide, please. Yeah, sandbox. The If the agent has safety incident greater than 1%, then we can account like 100% of the observed safety incidents. It must remain isolated. This sandbox. Human in the loop. If the agent requires more than one human correction per three successful tasks, it cannot be fully autonomous. Then the autonomous pilot agent should only be trusted to operate independently if the demonstrate greater than 30% success combined with the low run-to-run variance. Yep, next slide. The future of dev agent. Before we conclude, I want to share the future roadmap of the Dev Agent Bench, so which we have broken down into near, medium, and the long-term goals. In the in the short-term coming goals, like we want to expand from the 100 instance to the 500 instance and add deployment automation task. And in the medium term, we want to integrate with the GitHub Actions and the CI and ML failure detection. And in the long run, we want to make it like more adaptive and benchmark. And we want to make the pipeline more green metrics. Yeah. Next slide. And we are on the conclusion, so we are moving from can it do it to the can we trust it. The Dev Agent Bench provides the ruler for the trust. So we want the researchers and industry and the builders to explore these evaluations and expand this and make it more usable. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, this is the first time I'm presenting, so a bit nervous.
It was great, Suresh. Thank you, Suresh. And yeah, over to you. Any questions? Everyone is welcome to ask us or share their feedback or thoughts.